I am working on a Simplicity 2745 little coat for my granddaughter for her first birthday. It is her welcome to the world present. Hi, I'm Myrna. Thanks for joining me in my studio. Today I want to talk about the benefits of sewing small. The absolute #1 benefit to sewing small, which basically means a size other than one that fits you, is that it removes the emotions. You're not trying to make a garment that will fit you exactly and suit you perfectly. You're trying to learn how to sew better, whether that's because you're a beginner or because you are trying some new techniques. Taking that emotional component out of it makes it easier to just be there in that moment on each step doing your best. All of us have scrap fabrics or fabrics that we didn't like, or we have remnants. Those are all perfect for exploring something different that you do not intend to wear. You just want to learn something new. When I had my first grandchild, which he'll be 13 this year, I realized that I was setting a precedent. Whatever I did for that child, I would need to do for the remainder of them. And I was also sure that I might get some ready-made grandchildren. I wanted whatever thing I did to be able to work for all sorts of situations. What I decided to do was to make them something with their name on it. For the other 3, I was able to hire someone to do the embroidery for me. With Addie's coat, there just isn't anyone, and that was delaying me getting started on it. So finally, I just did something. That's often what we have to do in order to get moving. I used the same fabric. I put the fusible web on the correct side, and I wrote in pen. These are bullet point fabric markers by Pentel. I wrote on her date of birth, her full name. I put that on the lining as opposed to on the outside of the garment because that is safer with the child. This coat is a size 3. If you go too small, please don't do Barbie doll. It is too fiddly. It needs to be smaller and not fit you, bigger and not fit you. But anything that is too much in the extreme isn't of any benefit, especially if it's bigger, because you're using a lot more fabric. A size 3 meant that it doesn't have to be done at birth, and it's likely to be worn for a period of time. It is made out of denim, and that was the next thing that kept stalling me because this denim was super stiff. And no matter how many times I put it through the washing machine, it wasn't softening. This past weekend, I soaked it in vinegar water. The minute I put it in the water turned yellow. So there was still a tremendous amount of starch. With the exterior, the godets, top stitching, adding a little decorative band, creating some pockets. These I drafted myself. You get to experiment. Using the selvage to wrap the bottom. And then I still have left to go the collar and the collar stand. I use block interfacing, which means that I interface the fabric before I cut out the piece. And when there are 2 pieces, like there are with a collar stand, that need to be the same size, I cut them out together after 1/2 has been interfaced. Those are the kinds of techniques that you can learn when you're sewing small. There will also be buttons on here. If you've never done buttons before, a little boy's shirt is perfect for a collar stand, buttons, a pocket, perhaps a shirt hem, and setting in a sleeve. There are so many things that can be learned at a smaller size that you will not be attached to. And if you do not have small people in your life, there are many places where you can give these items to. I have some other knitting tiny things that I'll show you to illustrate this point as well. Apparently we're about to get a storm. The weather has turned quite nasty. Allie is chewing on a bone. Hopefully that will keep her occupied. One of the things that making small, sewing small, it's the same as knitting small. It's the same as filling the same canvas size over and over and over. It lets you play with ideas. This is a top-down raglan sleeve sweater that is knit in the round. So when you're done, all you have to do is sew the buttons on. I made these last year plus 1 more. But the year before that, I was using up all my yarn scraps and I made about 30 of them. I gave those to the Grandmother to Grandmother group and they sold them to raise money for grandmothers in third world countries. What this allowed me to do was play with stitch ideas. So this one has the stockinette top and then a textured bottom. This one has a stockinette top and a checkerboard bottom. This one is garter stitch, intermittent at the top and solid at the bottom. Or is that, hold on. Actually it's infrequent garter stitch at the top, so 3 rows of stockinette, 1 of garter, and then the bottom is moss stitch or seed stitch as some people call it. One of my favorite stitches. This one is that same garter stitch repeats, 3 rows stockinette, 1 of garter, knit to the right side basically. And then I had one more that was in a beautiful green color and I gave it to a little boy on his first birthday. Him and his parents come to the same coffee shop as I do. I saw them yesterday and I was saying to the little boy that he must have outgrown his sweater by now. And I found out that it was their house that burnt down. The mom was so sad that she had lost that sweater. So of course I'll be knitting another sweater. These are a bit like chips. I have the pattern memorized in a variety of sizes, and when I'm camping I often just take yarns and use them. In this particular case I wanted to use the same yarn over and over. I had quite a bit of it and I bought a bit more. It is James C. Brett Rustic Aran, I think it is, Aran Tweed. Knits up beautifully. I'm working on a sweater for myself in the pink. That's just another example of sewing small. You get to try so many ideas and see what you think and practice techniques. That's really good. I feel like I need to introduce myself again. The earlier part of this video was filmed about a month ago. First I was really sick and spent almost 2 weeks on the couch. I don't remember the last time I was that sick. And then at the tail end of that, I went to a community about an hour and a half away and I spent 10 days. My dog is out of practice too. Spent 10 days painting my son, my youngest son, and his wife's first home. 1,800 square feet, including the ceilings. Did that for 10 days. Was supposed to be there 12, but we had a bit of a catastrophic ending, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Came home completely exhausted and have spent most of this week on the couch just catching up. Yesterday I managed to do the laundry and the dishes, and today I actually had coffee with a friend and am finishing this video. The coat did not get finished. I want to put a zipper in the front and this requires some math, and I just have not felt alert enough to make sure that the math is correct before I cut off an amount, and I definitely don't want that to be wrong. So it is not finished. I will put it in a future video. It definitely won't be next week's video, so possibly the week after. The catastrophic ending, you can skip this little story if you want to and head on over to the gallery. There's, I haven't counted them lately, but I think 67 pictures there. Catastrophic ending was on the Saturday night. I was supposed to finish painting Sunday and do the touch-ups on Monday and then come home Tuesday. Saturday night, I'm sound asleep in my bed in the unfinished basement at the back of the house, and I hear a waterfall. Now, I'm really tired, and I would rather that was outside, not inside. So I tried to ignore it, but of course it was not outside, and I knew it, and I had to get up and look. When I walked to that end of the basement, I was in an inch of water. And it's pouring through the floor. And I make my way upstairs to the area above, which was the kitchen, entry, bathroom. And there's about 1.5 inches of hot water. What had happened was that the metal washer, why they use a metal washer with water, I don't know, but 1990s. The metal washer in the hot water valve in the powder room had corroded out, and the valve had burst and was spraying water everywhere. Luckily, the water that was hitting the ceiling and walls was contained to the powder room, but then it was flowing through the rest of the house. The silver lining is that all of the flooring did need to be replaced, as did that vanity, as did the kitchen cupboards. The kitchen cupboards are fine and they're certainly usable for a period of time until they have the money, but for the price of their deductible, they are getting completely new flooring throughout the main floor of the house and a new vanity in the bathroom. They hadn't even moved in yet, They'd had the house a week. It was lucky that I was staying there and that I was sleeping on the lower floor and not upstairs in the bedrooms, or this leak could have taken out the kitchen cupboards. Anyway, they did move in a couple days ago. Today is my granddaughter's birthday. She's getting a gift, but it's not the coat. I'm heading back tomorrow, which I really don't want to do, but I do want to be there for the party. So the gallery follows. You already saw this stuff at the beginning. Thanks so much for being here. I'm hoping that next week we'll be back to normal and back onto my regular weekly postings. Take care.